Welcome back to another episode of the Next Level Minds podcast. If this is your first time listening to the Next Level Minds podcast, this is a podcast that is dedicated to those who want to reach a next level in their business, personal, or career life. I am extremely pumped up today to get started on today's episode. And before I get started, I just want to reiterate my main goal, which is to impact over 1 million people by helping them reach a next level. And in order to do this, I would greatly appreciate some help on your end, and that would be just to subscribe to the Next Level Minds podcast on Apple and make a quick review of what you thought. And you can also share this with a family member or friend who you think would get some value from this. So this week is the start of a 7-week content series I'm doing on topics that have been requested by you all. And I'm really pumped up about this because these are some topics that I have a lot of credibility in, a lot of experience in, and topics that I'm just overall very passionate about. So be sure to follow my Instagram at ChrisChapChap to get the latest updates and have the ability and the chance to really request more topics. What you can really expect during this 7-week content series is videos, Facebook posts, LinkedIn posts, Instagram stories, and most importantly, podcasts that are centered around the theme of the week. And this week's episode is on personal finance, something that I am extremely passionate about. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, but just to test my credibility, I have been budgeting and managing my own money since I was the age of 14 years old. I am now 24, so that's 10 years of experience, and I also was very blessed to have saved over 40% of my after-tax income in 2019. So this is a topic that I'm not only extremely passionate about, but I have had countless requests from people on my Instagram, my Facebook, etc., about this topic. So here I am making it, and again, it's a great opportunity to listen to this episode to get started with your finances on the right foot going into 2020. With all that said, thank you for taking the time to tune into this week's episode of Next Level Minds. And as we like to say here, your mindset is your greatest weapon for the battle of success. To begin, I could talk about personal finance for hours. However, I'm really going to keep today's episode short and sweet and really break it down into 3 key tips that I believe will help you dominate your personal finance life. So, a lot of it really is not having your money control you, but you controlling your money. How many times have you not only said, but heard so many people, I can't do that because I can't pay for this. I can't do this because I'm trying to save for this. I'm worried about this. Or, money is one of those things that causes so many problems in friendships, in relationships with your spouse, relationships with your family. It's one of those things that can get so controlling if you let it. But if you take the right steps and procedures and educate yourself, you can be the one that controls money, not having it control you. So again, I'm going to break this down into 3 key tips that I have had work very well for me over the past 10 years. And just 3 key tips that I think are pretty easy to implement and then be a great opportunity to get you started on the right foot in 2020. So number 1 is stick to a budget. Now this is very, very important. And with a budget, I feel as if people get stressed out because they're like, oh, I have to do all this stuff on Excel and put these numbers here and write down this and blah, 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 blah. Well, we live in a technology age. There are literally thousands of mobile applications that can help you monitor and track your money. So another reason why I think people are scared of really budgeting their money is just they don't really know where to start. There's so much stuff going on in the world, so many things happening out there that it's just hard to get started. But again, I think it's of utmost importance to budget your money because I firmly believe that each dollar is a soldier, and you need to go exactly where it goes. You need to know exactly, is this dollar going towards groceries? Is this dollar going towards utilities? Is this dollar going towards rent? You need to know exactly where your money is flowing, because each and every one of them is a soldier, not to work against you, but to work for you and with you. So I personally use Excel, and I break everything down into weekly segments. For example, even though I get paid bi-weekly, I still average out what I make weekly to track it. So let's say, just put numbers out there, you make $1,200 every 2 weeks, then you would put in your budget 600, 600, 600, 600 in 4 weeks, because it's a lot easier to track. Same goes with expenses. So even though you may have a monthly expense like rent, I break that down into weekly segments of expenses. So if your rent is $800, you would just break that down into $200 a week. Again, it's a lot easier to track. And I could personally talk about my budget for hours. I've sent my budget template that saved me over 40% of my after-tax income to over 100 people. And if you want my template, shoot me a brief message on Instagram at Chris Chapchap, and I'll make sure to send it your way. Main point here is have a budget. I've been blessed to really have the opportunity to meet some very, very, very wealthy individuals, and all of them have said you need some type of budget to track where your money goes, or it's going to control you for the rest of your life. Now, tip number 2, if you budget properly, you should be saving at least 10% of your income. With that said, you need to invest your money properly. Do not just keep it in the bank. Main thing with tip number 2 is invest money properly. Keyword properly. Don't just keep it in the bank. Keeping all your money in the bank is not smart at all. When you have your money in the bank, the interest rates right now are 0.01%. That is absolutely horrible when you look at the average stock market return at 10%. So I don't know about you, but I'd rather have the 10% than the 0.01%. So what you should do is invest your money properly. Stock market, high yield savings account, real estate, things that will make you money and things that will make you a strong return year after year after year. So just doing the math real quick, breaking this down further, comparing if you put your money in the bank or if you put your money in the stock market. If you put at least $6,000 into a fund that tracks the S&P 500, which is an average return of 10%, you will have over $1 million in 30 years. So if you put $6,000 a year for 30 years into a fund that tracks the S&P 500, you will have over $1 million in 30 years. If you put $6,000 a year into the bank for 30 years with the interest rate of 0.01%, you will literally only have $200,000. That's a $800,000 difference. I don't know about you, but I know which option I would choose out of those. So again, breaking this math down further, let's say you're around 35 years old, making an average income of what that age range is, and that's $100,000. You're able to put $25,000 into the stock market. You will literally have over $4 million in 30 years if you choose the proper funds that will track the S&P 500. These are average funds. You can look them up. You can look up the average rate of return. It's 10%. And if you start at 25 with this type of investments, you'll be able to retire at 55. So again, I think I know which option I would choose, and that's investing in smart funds that properly track the S&P 500. And if you don't know where to begin with this, there's so many books and just so many different YouTube videos, financial advisors, et cetera, that can really help you, learn the ropes of what it's like to invest your money. Main theme here, invest your money. I'm sure you can find somebody to help you. There are literally 300,000 financial advisors in the United States right now, and there's also ample books. My recommendations for the books would be 5 Things a Millionaire Taught Me and Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is by Robert Kiyosaki. So for me personally, I have 3 to 6 months of cash in an emergency fund 70% of my yearly savings I put into the stock market for retirement funds, and then 30% of my annual savings I put in a high yield savings account that I'm currently saving for a down payment on a house. So again, that's worked out pretty well for me so far. I would suggest doing the same, but again, I'm no financial advisor, so take that with a grain of salt. I'm just putting out there of what worked well for me. So last but not least, this one is probably the most important of them all, and that's to have discipline. Just like anything else in life, dominating your personal finance and being wealthy takes discipline. For those of you that love going to the gym, getting big, getting ripped, or losing weight, whatever the case may be, it takes discipline. For those of you building a company, it takes discipline. For those of you who are, in a relationship, it takes discipline to have a good relationship. Anything in life takes discipline, and it's the same with personal finance. It takes a lot of discipline. Investing your money takes discipline. Budgeting your money takes discipline. And I can break this down into just a real life example. So if your goal is to save $250 a week and going into the weekend, you're close to overspending. And if you go out that you'll, won't reach your savings goal, you'll ultimately spend more than you have in your budget. And so if you get a text on, Saturday night that says, hey, so-and-so, let's go get beers and get dinner. And on your budget and in your mind that if you go get dinner and if you go get beers, you're going to go over your savings, then tell them no. It takes discipline, but I think that real friends and real colleagues, if they're genuine, they will respect that you have such a driven mentality and you're so disciplined to save money and build a wealthy life for yourself that they're going to respect you at the end of the day. And who knows, they actually might get some motivation too and stay in with you and grind together. So discipline is probably the most important. I hear stories all the time of, I can't save money because of this, because of that. I'm doing that. I always go out and this happens. That's fine. I was there too. But if you truly want to be wealthy and you truly want to control your money and not have it control you, you got to be disciplined. In summary, I don't think wealthy habits are not that hard. I don't think taking the road to build a wealthy life for yourself is hard. It just takes having self-awareness and discipline and an extreme desire to build wealth for not only you, but your family and others around you. So to summarize my tips, number 1, have a budget. Again, if you want a budget template that saved me over 40% of my after-tax income, I've put a lot of work into this budget. You can shoot me a DM on Instagram at ChrisChapChap, and I will float it your way. Number 2, invest your money in places outside of the bank, stock markets, high yield savings, real estate. Have someone help you if you don't know where to start. Read books. Again, 5 Things a Millionaire Taught Me by Richard Paul Evans and Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki are some fantastic books. And number 3, the most important one in my mind, is have discipline. So there's my tips. Hope you enjoyed it. If you got any value at all out of this episode, share it on social media. Tag me on Instagram. Tag me on Facebook. I'd love to hear it. Send me a message at ChrisChapChap. Let me know what you thought. And if you need help with your money, again, I'm no financial advisor, but I've had 10 years of experience really managing my own money, making it work for me, not having to be stressed about it too much. Really doing what I can do to not have it control me. I've been doing this for 10 years, so I would love to help out in any way. But if you really want to get serious about your investments, I would suggest hiring a financial advisor. And last but not least, please make a review on Apple Podcasts of what you thought about today's episode. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you again for tuning in to this week's episode. And as we like to say here at Next Level Minds, your mindset is your greatest weapon for the battle of success.